problem.
Issue 3, salt in the wound.
The single most harmful chemical in our food supply.
Americans consume 1.5 teaspoons of salt a day, more than double the recommended maximum intake. Why so much? Because most processed food already has a lot of salt in it. 80% of American salt intake comes from processed foods, soups, cereals, restaurant food. Experts argue that more salt increases the risk of high blood pressure, strokes, and other problems.
Simply, when you absorb extra salt, you also absorb extra water, and that has to go into the same circulation. So the pressure increases, and that pressure can damage the heart, the brain, and the kidneys.
The Food and Drug Administration is working on a strategy to reduce the amount of sodium in all processed foods. Critics say that the government's involvement symbolizes yet another effort at establishing a quote-unquote nanny state.
Ultimately, this is a long, a long argument as so far as, is government going to be coming down to your throat and mandating exactly how you're going to live your life? No smoking, no drinking, no texting, no whatever, now no salty.
Question, is this more nanny state nagging, Monica?
Yes, this administration seems allergic to individual choice and personal responsibility. It was bad enough when the government climbed into our cars, our banks, our health care, and our student loans, but now the government wants to climb into our salt shaker. The FDA this week issued a statement about this, saying that these were the first steps to placing legal limits on the amount of salt that can go in food. Do you want your government dictating to restaurants and fast food and to you how much salt you can put on your food?
Now that the federal government is involved in our health care, this is a matter of public health, and many people go to the doctor and they're told to reduce the salt in their diet. You could throw out every salt.
What does it produce?
You're supposed to.
Hypertension.
Said it. Hypertension.
High blood pressure.
Right.
Bad for the heart.
And you could throw out every salt shaker and you would have a very difficult time reducing salt because the processed foods that many of us buy for convenience are loaded with salt. And what the FDA is trying to do is to get the food industry to lower that. You're supposed to get between 1,500 and 2,500 milligrams in a day. And there's 1,500, 2,000 in some of these soups, in some of these pizzas. And it is deadly. And it is high time the FDA is talking about voluntary involvement.
Is the science of salt in dispute? I don't think it is.
No,
I think what's in dispute is the government saying you must limit it.
Right.
Now, they're going to limit it in a way where it's imperceivable. Well, in other words, they've got a salt substitute in there. Well, but salt substitutes, don't really taste like salt.
Well, that's the issue. The issue is that salt tastes good and makes food taste good. But the problem is it has real health consequences. Right. And as Eleanor says, now that the government is going to...
Why is it nanny state business? That's the point. Why does the government have to legislate this?
Why does the government have to pay for health care?
Well, presumably is a threshold where the individual can decide for himself. The government says this is the risk involved. This is the percentage of people affected by it.
John, let me get into this.
Why do we control smoking?
The United States government cannot defend our borders, win our wars, or balance our national budget.
Right.
But it's going to protect us from salt. The founding fathers are turning over in their graves.
Right.
No, most people are more threatened by salt than they are from a hard-working Mexican coming across the border.
Why are Americans such restless improvers? Is that the impulse behind this prohibitionist craze?
There's nothing wrong with that. What's wrong is that they try to get the government to impose it on you.
The point is people can't do this for themselves. Senator Tom, I don't care whether we're Americans, what nationality you are, unless you're willing to go to the supermarket and read every label, you have no idea how much sodium you're getting.
It's secrecy.
It is not the government's job to regulate how much salt goes into your food. If you're at risk for developing hypertension, that should be between you and your doctor, and your doctor should be counseling you.
Are we all fundamentally utopians in this country?
Well, we're all fundamentally people who believe that our life will get better and the life for the next generation. Utopia, I have to tell you, I've rarely visited Utopia.
Where did Utopia originate?
Thomas More.
Thomas More, sure.
Goldman Sachs will settle, yes or no?
You betcha.
Eleanor.
Good PR.
Monica.
No, they'll stand and fight.
Mort.
Eventually.
Never. Bye-bye.
Somewhere in America, there's a home by the sea, powered by the wind on the plains. There's a hospital where technology has a healing touch. There's a factory giving old industries new life. And there's a train that got a whole city moving again. Somewhere in America, the toughest questions are answered every day. Because somewhere in America, more than 60,000 people spend every day answering them. Siemens answers.